It's 2 a.m. The room is quiet, the day is finally done, and you should, by all rights, be fast asleep. And then your brain kind of leans over, taps you on the shoulder, and goes, Hey, remember that thing you said in the group chat back in 2019? And just like that, you are wide awake. Full body cringe. Replaying 11 seconds of dialogue like it is under federal investigation. Did they think it was weird? They definitely thought it was weird. They probably still bring it up at parties. They have, honestly, formed a committee. And the wild part is, you already know it does not matter. You know that logically. You have told yourself like 100 times to just let it go. But your brain will not close the file. It keeps it right there on the desktop, one click away, ready to play in stunning high definition the second you lie down. So look, if your mind refuses to hand you the off switch tonight, just stick around. Because what it is doing in there is actually kind of fascinating. And honestly, once you see the machinery, you just cannot unsee it. So here's what we are going to figure out together tonight. Why your brain treats one awkward sentence like a national emergency. Why it reaches for the most cringe moment in the archive and not, the time you were genuinely charming. And why the harder you try to stop replaying it, the louder the replay seems to get. We are going to open up the hood and look at the actual machinery in there. No big lecture, I promise. Just you, me, a potato with a brain stapled on top, and a couple of researchers who quietly figured this stuff out. By the end, you will know exactly what is happening up here. And maybe, just maybe, you will be a little kinder to yourself about it. Deal? Okay, so let's start with the obvious question. Why does this happen at night? Why 2 a.m. and not like 2 in the afternoon when you are busy and distracted and basically fine? Turns out, that timing is not random at all. It is pretty much the whole story. Here's the thing most people kind of get backwards about the brain. You probably just assume that when you stop doing stuff, when you finally lie down and go quiet, your brain powers down with you. Like closing a laptop. Nice and peaceful. Lights out. But that is not what happens. Not even close. The second you stop focusing on a task, a whole network in your brain switches on. Not off. On. So here's what's really going on up here. Researchers like Marcus Rachel gave this network a name back in 2001. They call it the default mode network, which sounds a little intimidating, but stay with me because the everyday version is really simple. Think of it as your brain's screensaver. You know how an old computer, the second you stop touching it, kicks into a screensaver that just pulls random photos from your library? Same idea basically. The moment you are not actively doing something, your brain goes, oh, free time, and pulls up the photo library. And what is in that library? You, your memories, your relationships, that one conversation, basically every social moment you have ever lived. So the reason 2 a.m. is prime cringe hour is not some cruel cosmic coincidence. It's just the only time of day you are quiet enough for the screensaver to come on. During the day, you are answering emails, dodging traffic, deciding what on earth to eat. The screensaver stays off, but the second your head hits the pillow, showtime. Alright, but that only explains the timing. It does not explain why your brain reaches for that one specific moment. The bad one, the unresolved one, and for that we kind of have to go back almost 100 years. Back in 1927, a psychologist named Bluma Zygarnik noticed something kind of odd about waiters. A waiter could remember a complicated, half-finished order perfectly, every little detail, right up until the food was delivered and the bill was paid, and then, gone. The moment that order was complete, the waiter's memory of it just evaporated, wiped clean. So she ran some experiments and, she found this pattern held up basically everywhere. People just remember unfinished things, way better than finished ones. In her studies, folks were roughly twice as likely to recall a task they had been interrupted on than one they had wrapped up. We call it the Zygarnik effect, and honestly, it is kind of the key to your whole 2 a.m. problem. Because think about what a conversation actually is. When a conversation ends clean, when you both said what you needed, somebody apologized, everybody is good, your brain just stamps it complete and files it in the back. Done. Forgotten. But when a conversation ends weird, when you never got to explain yourself, never heard whether they were actually mad, Never got that little, "Hey, we're okay, don't even worry about it." That conversation is not finished, as far as your brain is concerned. It is an open tab, and your brain, bless its overachieving heart, just refuses to close an open tab. So it keeps the tab open, humming away quietly in the background, reminding you, hey, this one is still not resolved, maybe we should think about it again, at 2 a.m. for the 400th time. Real helpful. Now here's where it gets a little intense, and honestly, this is the part that kind of got me when I first read it. You might be wondering, fine, it is an open loop, sure, but why does it hurt so much? Why does remembering one awkward comment make your stomach physically drop? It is just a memory. It should be neutral, like remembering a phone number. Except it is not neutral, not to your brain. Back in 2003, a team of researchers led by Naomi Eisenberger put people in a brain scanner and had them play a little online ball tossing game. And at some point, the other players just stopped throwing the ball to the person, left them out. Total digital cold shoulder. And when the team looked at the scans, the part of the brain that lit up during that social rejection was the anterior cingulate cortex, which, fun little fact, is one of the same regions that lights up when you stub your toe or burn your hand, the pain region. Let me say that again because it is really wild. To your brains, getting socially rejected and getting physically hurt run on overlapping wiring. Same alarm. So when you replay that cringe moment, that flash of, oh God, they judged me, you are not just calmly reviewing it. You are pressing a button your nervous system reads as actual pain, over and over, which, as a potato, I find deeply relatable. We bruise pretty easily too, anyway. And there's a reason for this, because there's always a reason with this brain of ours. For most of human history, getting rejected by your group was not embarrassing. It was deadly. Cast out of the tribe meant no food, no protection. So your brain just built itself a hair trigger alarm for any hint of social rejection. Because back then, catching it early literally kept you alive. The only problem is that ancient alarm cannot really tell the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and you saying something slightly awkward at a friend's barbecue. Same alarm. Same 2 a.m. wake-up call. Okay, deep breath. Let's put one more piece on the table, because this is the part nobody warns you about, and it might honestly change how you think about replaying things forever. You probably picture a memory like a recording, like a video saved on a hard drive somewhere. You hit play, you watch it, you put it back, and it stays the same every single time. That feels true. It is also, as it turns out, completely wrong. So in the year 2000, a researcher named Karim Neder showed something that really shook up the whole field. When you pull up a memory, that memory doesn't just quietly play. It actually becomes soft again, editable. For a little window of time, the memory is unlocked, and then your brain resaves it from scratch. Scientists call this reconsolidation, and the plain language version is basically this. Every single time you remember something, you are not opening a sealed file. You are opening a document, and documents, get edited. So picture what is happening at 2 a.m. You replay the cringe, and while it is sitting there unlocked, your brain, which is currently flooded with dread, and that pain signal we just talked about, resaves the memory with a little extra dread baked right in. A little more shame. The next night, you replay version 2, which is already worse, and you resave it worse again. You see where this is going, right? You are not reviewing the tape. You are slowly editing it into a horror film, and your inner editor, honestly, has a bit of a grudge. That is why a memory from years ago can somehow feel more humiliating now than it did the day it happened. It is not your imagination playing tricks. You have genuinely rewritten it dozens of times, each pass a tiny bit darker than the one before. Alright, I have been handing you a lot of slightly alarming news, so let me hand you the good stuff now, because there's good stuff, I promise. And it is backed by my favorite study in this whole pile. So in the year 2000, some psychologists, Thomas Gilovich and his colleagues, ran an experiment that I think about constantly. They made college students put on a deeply embarrassing t-shirt, and we're talking a giant Barry Manilow face here, and then walk into a room full of other people. And afterward, they asked the embarrassed students, how many people in that room do you reckon noticed your ridiculous shirt? On average, the students guessed about half the room. Half! They were dead certain everyone had clocked it, The reality? Only about a fifth of the people actually noticed. Most of them could not have told you what was on the shirt if you paid them. They called this the spotlight effect, and it is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. We all just walk around feeling like there's a spotlight following us, broadcasting our every little stumble to a captivated audience. But that audience? The audience is checking their own phone, worrying about their own barbecue comment from 2019. So let me connect this all the way back to your 2 a.m. tribunal. That conversation you have replayed 400 times, dissecting every syllable, the other person almost certainly forgot it. Not because they are cruel, just because they are human, and they are the star of their own movie. You know, not a supporting character in yours. The cringe that has cost you, what? Whole hours of sleep across your lifetime? Probably left their memory about 4 seconds after it happened. You're the only person still sitting in the theater. Lights down, popcorn gone, watching the director's cut, alone. And personally, I think that's one of the most freeing facts in all of psychology. The trial you keep holding up there in your head has exactly one attendee, and that one person is also somehow the defendant, the judge, and the very harsh critic. You could, in theory, just adjourn. Now, I'm not going to hand you some magic trick that deletes the loop forever, because that would be a lie, and you deserve better than a lie from a vegetable. But understanding the machinery actually does something real. When the replay starts up tonight, you can name what is going on. You can just go, there's my screensaver again, pulling up an open tab, pressing the ancient pain button, while my inner editor tries to make it worse. That is it. That is genuinely all it is doing. And weirdly enough, just naming it tends to take some of the air out of it. There's even decent evidence that putting a feeling into words, literally labeling the thing, quiets the brain's distress response a little. So when your brain says, hey, remember 2019, you actually get to answer it back. Out loud even. You can say, yeah, I remember. It is an open loop and a tired old alarm. We are okay. I am closing the tab now. Because here's what I really want you to take with you tonight. The fact that you replay conversations does not mean something is wrong with you. Not at all. It means you have a brain that cares deeply about your connections to other people. That loop is just a feature of a sensitive, socially tuned mind, doing its best to keep you safe and liked. It is only running way past the point of being useful. The same wiring that keeps you up at night is the wiring that makes you a genuinely thoughtful friend. That is not a defect you need to fix. It is just a setting that could honestly use a little gentleness. So here's where I will leave you tonight. If you saw yourself anywhere in this, and I have a sneaking feeling that you did, do me one small favor before you go. Think of the one person in your life who lies awake replaying their own conversations. You know exactly who I mean. The thoughtful one. The one who apologizes twice for the things that were never their fault. Send this over to them, because they are probably lying in the dark right now, convinced they're the only one whose brain does this, and they might really need to hear that they are not broken. They are just running rarer software in a world built for the standard install. And then tell me down in the comments, what is the conversation your brain absolutely refuses to let go of? You do not have to get specific, just, how old is the cringe you are still quietly carrying around? Mine is embarrassingly ancient, for the record. I read every single comment. Everyone, be a little gentle with that poor, overworked brain of yours tonight, okay? It has been pulling overtime for you this whole time, mostly without so much as a thank you. Stay curious, you brilliant Spud. I'm Spud, and I will see you in the next one.